Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Nolo2, and I have two things I'm going to talk about in this video. One, we're going to talk about this deck here, but before that, this deck was inspired by one of the viewers. OMG, it's Bravo. Shout out to you. This a random viewer that I ran into while playing Back for Blood. I had a nice time with him. Did a whole run with him almost, and hopefully we'll get to play again soon in the future, and etc. But he shared me one of his decks. Showed me a deck, and I found it quite interesting. Right? It's important to remember that all of the decks that I have showed you are, for the most part of my personal playstyle. When it comes to being somebody who makes guides and is trying to portray themselves as the authority of how to have success in a particular video game, things need to be tested. And I have tested all these decks multiple hours and played multiple hours, 600 or I think I've broken 700 hours now at some point. I have a lot of hours. And sort of naturally over time, I have my own sort of playstyle. My playstyle comes from a place of being in solo queue, where I am assuming that my teammates are not very good, to the point that they are not alive anymore. So all my decks come from a place of being able to beat all of the missions from pretty much start to finish without any help from my teammates. And those decks, so the decks are really fast with extra grenade slots and very universal as far as like grenade slots, deep pockets, as well as extra movement speed, because no matter what happens, they can't take your legs away from you in Back for Blood and things like that. Right, and that's my particular playstyle. And when Back for Blood, when Turtle Rock was advertising the deck system, it was sort of about like, the deck system will encourage you to play your own style, as well as help you maybe find a playstyle or help you explore different playstyles and things like that. Right, so keep in mind that my decks, though they work and they're tested, and I'm proud of them, and I stand by them, there are other successful ways to play the game, which one of the viewers showed me, and he showed, this is the deck that I've beaten all 4 acts on Nightmare with. And I thought it was kind of cool. It is not this deck here. This is not the deck. I would like to show it to you guys, but I lost the image. I don't have the image anymore. But this deck inspired me to make this deck, which I will get into. But it got me thinking, talking to somebody else about the card system and the deck, and brainstorming and that sort of idea, I think is really fun, really appealing. One thing I love about this game, as well as many other games that allow you to do this, is I like the idea of stepping away from the game and in my free time be able to think about the game, peruse it, think, oh, if I did this, or if I changed that, or oh, wouldn't this combination of cards be really cool? Right, in RTS games, you can, oh, isn't this build order really awesome? Or if I did this in my build order, maybe this would work better in the early game. Things like that, very cool, very fun, and I think a very appealing thing for game devs to try and make a game that does that to people, because it means I'm thinking about your game more often, as well as wanting them to come back and play it, right? I have an idea, I'm going to come back and play test it. Oh, I have this idea for this really cool deck in Back for Blood. Can't wait to get back online so that I can make the deck and test it out. Things like that. So, the first part of this video, to the point, the announcement is, in the description of this video, I will be leaving my personal Discord name thing so that you can send me a direct message in Discord. So you can send me a direct message in Discord. In that direct message, you will send me an image of your deck. And the deck title can be whatever, etc., etc. You will send me an image of your deck and a little synopsis of what you're trying to accomplish with this deck, or what the point is. This can be, look at this really cool deck that I've had success with, or look at this deck that I'm working on. I want to make a Vangelo sniper support deck, and it's not quite there yet. It doesn't quite feel right. I struggle on these parts with this deck. Can you help me, right? So send me your deck ideas, your deck image, basically an image of this here. So, I mean, if you don't know how to make an image of just this part of your screen, YouTube it. I believe in you. You can figure it out. Send me that image, no links or whatever, right? Just send me that image and a little brief description of what you want to do with this deck. You can even tell me what act you play it in. I would actually, please tell me what act you play it in, or if all of them, if that's the case. And I will review them, go over them, talk about them, brainstorm about potential ways that maybe I would change it to my playstyle, where I think this deck is strong, where the deck is weak, things like that. So I've tried to make other videos about the concepts and philosophies of my understanding of deck building in this game. I have hundreds and hundreds of hours in Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering and Pokemon trading card games, as well as Yu-Gi-Oh! I've played all the trading card games. So deck building and concepts like that, very comfortable to me. So I think, though I've tried to make those other videos about deck building and how it works and things like that, I find that this could be another great way to continue to impress upon you guys how to build successful decks by basically having examples and brainstorming over those examples and things like that. So start sending in the images, and if this goes well, if this works out, I mean, some of you guys I may not get any images. If that's the case, then you have spoken either way. Either way, you send me or you don't, you speak either way, and we'll see where it goes from there. But the concept, the thing that I ended up drawing from OMG Bravo's deck, shout out to that guy, was that his deck, I felt, had a lot of powerful combinations in it, hence inspiring this deck. In fact, his deck had Copper Scav and Money Grubbers in it, in his first two cards. And that is sort of what ended up inspiring me to do the Copper Scav data gathering video that I just published. Just to really figure out, like, where does Money Grubbers really stand with and without Copper Scav, and how good is it, and etc. And for the most part, if you want Money Grubbers to be better than Hazard Pay, you need Copper Scav. If it's just Money Grubbers versus Hazard Pay, it's kind of 50-50. It goes either way. It can go up or down, a little RNG, and etc. In a Nightmare mode, RNG is typically not in your favor. At which point, then we have to consider, if we are going to dedicate two card slots to Copper cards, is there anything better than Copper Scav Money Grubbers? And it depends on how you look at it. If we are only concerned about our source of copper, which I typically am in quick play because our teammates may not be the most reliable. Copper Scav, Money Grubbers, that's the number one wombo combo, if all you're concerned about is how much copper you have. With that being said, if we view copper as a team resource, at least as far as purchasing team upgrades, which are rather expensive, Share the Wealth is the most net gain that any one copper card can give us, at 400, but it's split between all 4 players. I have been finding that players pretty reliably in Nightmare mode try and get an upgrade here or there. Pretty reliably. So, if we are viewing copper as a team resource, Share the Wealth and Hazard Pay gives our team, including ourselves, right? Because we're including ourselves in the team, 650 copper. Hazard Pay Share the Wealth gives us 650 copper to the team. Can Copper Scav Money Grubbers beat that? It can at 21 piles of copper. And if you go look at my video, my data that I gathered, getting 21 piles of copper reliably with Copper Scav and Money Grubbers, it's iffy. You almost never get there. On most of the missions, you almost never get there. There's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of cards that can be blown up. A lot of circumstances that can go around it. One thing I forgot to mention, I did seem to notice that if you happen to be downed, if you happen to be dead, and you have Money Grubbers, and other people are picking up copper while you're on the wall, or waiting to respawn, as far as I can tell, Money Grubbers did not kick in. Not kick in. I tried to test it a little bit. It seemed a little wonky, but it seemed like it just didn't work very reliably. And there's even some people reporting that potentially money grubbers reset if you ended up dying. Either way, the point is trying to get 21 piles of copper reliably to be better than hazard pay share the wealth. It's just not going to happen. It's just not there. So we have hazard pay share the wealth. 350 each round for us, an extra 300 for the team. That's quite a lot of money. And the idea is here, two powerful combos. This is the power card deck. This is for Act 1 specifically, any cleaner. But this is about just dipping our toe into brief combination of cards. A lot of my decks that I have for solo queue are about you being the hero most of the time, right? The solo clutch deck, the one and done, or the solo clutch deck for each of the acts that I've released are all about you being the person having the tools necessary to beat all of the challenges that show up. Whether that be U-speed for the field cannon, grenade damage for the bosses at the end of Act 2, movement speed for the body dump, and etc. We also have some other decks that sort of still touch into that concept of having the tools necessary to beat the mission, but also delving into maybe being a support or a DPS and things like that. This deck sort of dips its toe into everything. I love saying dip your toe, have you noticed that? This deck has a little bit of everything. We have Hazard Pace, Share the Wealth, Fleet of Foot, Cross Trainers, Economy, Movement Speed, Cold Brew Coffee, Headband Magnifier. Cold Brew Coffee is a nice flexible card, literally good for everything. But the use speed for card 5 is the Crossing for planting the bombs. Then we get into Support, Scavenger, and Poultice. If I had to choose two cards as far as providing our team with extra health, these are probably the best two cards. Now, there is group therapy and like medical professional and EMT. There's a lot of other really good, powerful support cards. But as far as just like net gain of health, like just flat health boost to the team, these are probably the two best cards, because better than having an extra, 32 health per accessory use, or, right? You can just have an extra 5 bandages, or a couple of pain pills, or one extra med kit. Like, the potential of Support Scavenger providing the team with extra health during the course of a mission, really, really high, as well as an economy card to help our endeavors to not spend copper, essentially. Especially since we have Poultice to combine with it, because now our bandages are basically medkits, our pain pills are basically bandages, and our medkits are heal for like a tier up, I think, like that, right? Like an extra, like Poultice is like the most percentage you can get for the most part, better than most percentage healing efficiency cards out there at the moment, and it's super flexible. So now you can provide the team with tons and tons of health, just flat health. No gimmicky, nothing's a gimmick here, nothing's all we heal the whole team or recover trauma, no gimmicks, no other side stuff, it's just flat health. Bam. And we don't have to spend our copper on accessories now, and etc. Next we have Admin Reload. Now we're stepping in the DPS, right? We have the economy, we have the movement, we have the support stuff, and then we have Admin Reload. Admin Reload for the DPS. That's a sustained fire. Picked up by Amped Up. Oh, a little diversification here. Card 9, remember this is for Act 1. Card 9 is Special Delivery, which is a guaranteed dark map where all of the snitches are mutated, where no matter what happens, if they get alerted or downed, they call a horde, no matter what. And of course there's alarmed doors and potential spawns for like an ogre or a breaker or a hag, which also call hordes. Amped Up has so that map has all kinds of snitches, sleepers, alarms, etc. And thus, Amped Up has a lot of potential to trigger on this map in particular. Amped Up is good on literally every map, but let's give some other cards some chances to shine here, and we'll pick up Amped Up on a map that is especially good for Amped Up. Special Delivery, especially extra good for Amped Up, but Amped Up's good everywhere. We'll pick it up here because it makes us feel real smart to pick it up on card 9. Card 10, Shredder. Just to, again, team damage. Team damage, right? These are cards that have just a lot of impact without needing a lot of combination going on here, right? We have 2 card combinations at most in this deck. Picking up Shredder for the 15% team damage boost. With this deck, you can run any weapon. You can run a Barrette, right? But just keep in mind that because we are running Shredder, you're going to want some sort of full auto secondary if your primary is going to be a single shot weapon, and etc. But we can run shotgun, SMG, AR, doesn't really matter. Into combat training. As far as damage cards go, this is the only card that really, I think, can provide reliable stumble chance to your weapon. Again, if you're going to end up running like a Barrette or a Phoenix, then combat training is not really the best for that instance, because combat training benefits from lots of bullets as opposed to just one big mega bullet. And besides, the Barrette already has great stumble chance anyways. You don't really need to buff it. But between combat training, the range that you're firing at, the color of your weapon, color of your stumble ammo, combat training is going to help either take the edge off, allowing you to stumble things that you wouldn't normally be able to, or at the very least, be able to stumble them even faster. Instead of taking 8 bullets to stumble something, it'll take 6, or something like that, right? The math is not important, but the point is, we're trying to maximize our chance to stumble. Then we're getting Grenade Pouch on Hell's Bells, Offensive Scavenger on Abandoned, because there's 3 types of enemies that we fight. It's Mutations, it's the Horde, and it's Attrition. And when it comes to dealing with mutations, grenades are a super easy way to just delete everything on your screen, including tall boys. On a map like Abandoned, though, which is very, very long, attrition can be a big issue. You have to call the hordes for the infested house, the gas station, birds and sleepers. Then you have to run up the alleyway, which is all another guaranteed horde with mutation spawns in it, as well as then run your way up the abandoned mineshaft, which has an infinite horde event on it, but you can blow up the mine shafts as you go up to limit where they come from, limit the direction that the zombies come from, as well as push them back and things like that. So having any amount of extra explosives for Abandoned, huge benefit. And on Abandoned, you have the gas station, the infested house, the house after that, as well as the entire pathway, right? Let me back up. You have the gas station, the infested house, and the second house, all of which are guaranteed loot spots, all of which are very easy places to hold off the horde, allowing your team to pretty much comfortably loot all 3 of those areas reliably. Like, there's no issue with looting in that first half of Abandoned, because Abandoned is actually not a very wide open map. It's pretty tight, pretty linear as far as its direction. So looting and getting value out of Offensive Scavenger on Abandoned, very, very easy and very, very clutch a lot of the times. Then we have double grenade pouch for 14 and headband magnifier if we need it. Double check with your team if you're going to end up being the person on the field cannon, because you want to pick this up sooner, potentially before the double grenade pouch. But really, because we're skimping so much on the use speed here for Act 1, we really will want both, but you can do it without either of them. For the most part, at this point, communicate with your teammates. How many pipe bombs are you going to have? How many grenades are you going to have? Essentially, if you have like 6, 7-ish pipe bombs, that's pretty dang close to enough as far as getting you zombie free while you load the field cannon, depending on your use speed, of course, right? So if you have a Carly, we have cold brew coffee at this point, right? And if you have a handbag magnifier on it or not. Excuse me. But maybe you need to throw grenades. It's falling apart at the end. Maybe you throw grenades, maybe you throw the pipe bombs. Either way, extra grenade slots at the end. You might notice we have no grenade slots at the beginning. Who am I? Who is this person? Because normally I love having the extra grenade slots. Usually earlier the better. But, again, let's jump back to our team copper here, right? 650 copper per level for the team. Even on 1-1. The idea here behind having double economy cards is that we're trying to guarantee that just about every level we're buying at least one team upgrade comfortably. At least one team upgrade comfortably. And in the team upgrades, there is an offensive slot upgrade. You want that. You want that. You want that over grenade damage upgrades. You want that super duper early. Keep in mind, right, that team upgrade right, is surplus pouches. Right? We can spend our copper to get infinite surplus pouches in theory. So there is a little bit of RNG here as far as having enough grenade slots. This could be a little rough as far as having reliable damage to deal with things if no one on your team is running that damage. Because we're not. Not until card 8, right? So just think about that. That's one of the concepts that I really liked with seeing the OMG's deck, was that I felt like you can skip potentially the extra grenade slots and sort of roll the dice a little bit, in that we'll just get the offensive slot in the team upgrade area. We do have the grenade pouches at the end just because of the bad siege checkpoint. If you start at the bad siege checkpoint, you only have 4 missions to get the slots that you need, and the chances of that happening are very, very slim. So, and of course, too, money cards lose value in a sense the deeper into a checkpoint that into a campaign that you start, because you have less missions for them to trigger. So we have the grenade pouch and double grenade pouch at the end as a sort of reliability thing. But for the most part, if you start at 1-1 and go all the way to Rolling Thunder, you're going to have a lot of grenades, potentially. So that's the deck. This is the power card deck. Just at the most, combinations of 2 cards that have really good impact, accomplish something very powerful for us, giving us lots of tools: economy, movement speed, some use speed, support, damage, health, right? And stumble chance, and then extra grenades, and the ability to fight off attrition and things like that. Let me guys know what you think of this video, and please remember to, if you're interested in having me review your deck in some of these YouTube videos, we'll have like just a video dedicated to me reviewing decks. Send me a DM on Discord. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the future.